If you have spent any time working at an airport, you quickly realize that certain passenger behaviors make the entire travel experience harder for everyone involved. After speaking with former gate agents, Transportation Security Administration officers, and flight attendants who have decades of combined experience, a clear pattern emerges. There are specific things that travelers do that create unnecessary delays and stress for the very people trying to help them reach their destinations safely. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments what city you are watching from and what time it is there. I am always curious where everyone is tuning in from. Today, we are going to walk through the most common mistakes that former airline staff wish passengers would stop making and what you can do differently. The first issue is passengers who arrive at the security checkpoint completely unprepared. Former Transportation Security Administration officers report that travelers act surprised when asked to remove items from their bags. Despite clear signage throughout the airport and repeated announcements, many passengers reach the front of the line still wearing heavy coats, belts with large buckles, and jewelry, while their laptops remain buried in their bags. This lack of preparation creates a domino effect that backs up the entire security line, potentially causing dozens of people to miss their flights. As you approach the security area, start preparing by removing your jacket, taking off any belt with a metal buckle, and having your liquids bag ready to pull out. Another major complaint involves passengers who wait until the very last second to check their gate information. Gate agents work under tremendous pressure, managing multiple flights simultaneously while dealing with delays, cancellations, and passenger complaints. When someone approaches the desk moments before boarding asking which gate they need, it shows a complete lack of awareness. Most airports now have mobile apps, electronic boards throughout the terminals, and frequent announcements providing flight information. Former airline staff emphasize that taking personal responsibility for tracking your flight details is essential. The issue of oversized carry-on luggage remains one of the most persistent problems that former airline employees wish would disappear entirely. Despite clear size restrictions posted at every gate and on airline websites, passengers regularly attempt to board with bags obviously too large for overhead compartments. Former flight attendants report spending significant time during boarding, trying to rearrange bins, asking passengers to gate check oversized bags, and managing conflicts between travelers. Airlines establish carry-on size limits for specific safety and operational reasons. Overhead bins must close securely for takeoff and landing, and aisles must remain clear for emergency evacuations. If your bag does not fit easily in the sizing bin near the gate, check it at the gate. Former staff also express frustration with passengers who treat gate agents and security officers as adversaries rather than professionals doing their jobs. One retired gate agent with over 20 years of experience shared that the most exhausting part of her job was the constant hostility from passengers who seemed to assume that every policy existed solely to inconvenience them. When a gate agent enforces a boarding group, denies boarding to someone who arrived too late, or requires a bag to be checked, they are following established policies designed to keep operations running smoothly. Arguing with, yelling at, or being rude to these employees will not change the outcome. Former airline staff emphasize that treating airport employees with basic respect can make a tremendous difference in how willing they are to help you find solutions. The practice of crowding the gate area before your boarding group has been called, commonly known among airline staff as being a gate louse, drives former gate agents absolutely crazy. Picture this from their perspective. The gate agent is trying to board a full flight efficiently, calling groups in a specific order designed to minimize congestion. Yet dozens of passengers stand in a mob around the boarding area, blocking the path for those whose groups have actually been called and creating chaos. Airlines use boarding groups for legitimate operational reasons. They want overhead bin space available for those who paid for priority boarding and want to minimize congestion in the aisles. When you ignore your boarding group and try to sneak on early, you are not being clever. You are actively working against a system designed to get everyone on the plane as quickly as possible. Another behavior that former Transportation Security Administration officers wish would stop is passengers who pack prohibited items in their carry-on bags and then act shocked when discovered during screening. Every single day, security officers confiscate hundreds of items that travelers should have known were not allowed through checkpoints. Large bottles of liquids, sharp objects, tools, and even firearms show up regularly in carry-on luggage. When confronted, many passengers claim they forgot the items were in their bags or did not realize they were prohibited. While genuine mistakes certainly happen, The Transportation Security Administration provides extensive resources online listing exactly what can and cannot go through security. Taking 5 minutes before you pack to review these guidelines can save you from losing expensive items, facing potential fines, and causing delays for everyone behind you in line. The habit of blocking aisles while boarding or deplaning is another issue that makes former flight attendants want to scream. When you step onto an aircraft, your goal should be to reach your seat as quickly and efficiently as possible so that others behind you can do the same. Yet countless passengers stop directly in the middle of the aisle to rearrange their belongings, search for something in their bag, or take off their jacket while dozens of people wait behind them. The same problem occurs when the plane lands and everyone rushes to stand up, blocking the aisle while grabbing their bags and preventing any actual movement toward the exit. Former airline staff explained that if every passenger simply moved to their seat promptly during boarding and waited for their row during deplaning, the entire process would take half the time. Former gate agents wish passengers would stop arguing about seat assignments and expecting staff to solve problems that could have been avoided. Airlines now charge fees for selecting specific seats, and many travelers choose not to pay those fees. Then they arrive at the gate upset that they are not sitting with their family. Gate agents have very limited ability to change assignments, especially on full flights. If sitting together is important, select seats when you book the flight. The misuse of overhead bin space creates constant headaches for former flight attendants. The bin above your seat is not automatically reserved for you, but there is an unspoken etiquette that experienced travelers follow. Place your bag in the bin nearest to your seat and never store personal items like purses up top when space is limited. Former staff report regularly seeing passengers place 3 or 4 items in the bins, taking up space meant for several passengers. Former Transportation Security Administration officers wish passengers understood that the security checkpoint is not the place for extended conversations. The purpose is to screen passengers and belongings efficiently. When you treat the checkpoint like a social gathering, stopping to chat with friends, or slowly gathering items while blocking the repacking area, you create bottlenecks affecting hundreds of people. Approach the checkpoint ready to move through quickly and step away before reorganizing your bags. Another common complaint involves passengers who expect gate agents to bend or break rules for their personal convenience. Whether trying to board before your group is called or asking for exceptions to check-in deadlines, these requests put airline staff in an impossible position. The policies they enforce exist for operational, safety, and legal reasons. Gate agents do not have authority to ignore them because you insist you deserve special treatment. The behavior of not listening to crew instructions during the flight remains one of the most serious concerns. When a flight attendant tells you to remain seated because of turbulence or put your tray table up for landing, they are giving you direct instructions related to safety regulations. They are legally required to enforce. Passengers who ignore these instructions create potential safety hazards. Former airline staff wish more travelers understood that flight attendants are primarily safety professionals with extensive training. Former gate agents also express frustration with passengers who wait until they are at the front of the boarding line to search for their boarding pass. Despite having potentially hours at the airport, some travelers reach the gate agent completely unprepared, forcing them to dig through bags while everyone behind them waits. Having your boarding pass and identification ready before you reach the podium takes minimal effort and shows respect for everyone's time. The issue of passengers who refuse to accept that flights sometimes get delayed or canceled weighs heavily on former airline employees. Weather delays, mechanical issues, and air traffic control restrictions cause thousands of flight disruptions every day. While these situations are certainly frustrating, they are almost never the fault of the gate agent standing in front of you. Former airline staff report that the most emotionally draining part of their jobs was absorbing verbal abuse from angry passengers who seemed to believe that yelling would somehow change weather patterns. Former Transportation Security Administration officers wish passengers would stop trying to be comedians at the security checkpoint. Making jokes about bombs, weapons, or terrorism might seem funny to you, but they are taken extremely seriously and can result in you being detained, questioned, and potentially facing criminal charges. The Transportation Security Administration deals with genuine threats every day, and officers cannot afford to assume your joke is harmless. Former security staff consistently advise travelers to treat the checkpoint as the serious security operation it actually is. Another behavior that former flight attendants found exhausting is passengers who treat the aircraft like their personal living room. Removing shoes and socks, putting bare feet on armrests, clipping nails, or engaging in other grooming activities during the flight all violate basic etiquette. Aircraft cabins are shared public spaces where hygiene and courtesy should be maintained. If you cannot go 8 hours without removing your shoes, at least bring clean socks or slippers to wear. The airplane floor is covered with spilled drinks and bathroom residue. The practice of using the call button excessively or for trivial requests has increased dramatically in recent years. The call button exists for situations where you genuinely need assistance, not for requesting a specific type of ice in your drink when a flight attendant will be walking by in 2 minutes. Flight attendants have specific service patterns designed to be efficient, and constant call button usage disrupts their workflow. If your request can wait until a flight attendant naturally passes your row, it probably does not warrant using the call button. Former gate agents wish more passengers understood that airport and airline employees are not responsible for fixing every problem in your travel journey. If you booked a ticket with an impossibly tight connection or forgot to check your passport expiration date, those are not failures of the airline staff. They are failures of personal planning. While airline employees often go out of their way to help passengers solve problems, they cannot work miracles. The behavior of passengers who film gate agents or flight attendants during disputes has become increasingly common and deeply troubling to former staff. When you pull out your phone to record an interaction, you are typically doing so in hopes of capturing content that will go viral on social media. This practice escalates tensions, makes employees feel threatened, and often presents a one-sided version of events. Former airline staff report that being constantly recorded created tremendous stress. If you have a legitimate complaint, airlines have formal channels for submitting grievances. One issue that rarely gets discussed is passengers who monopolize gate agent time with questions that have already been answered in announcements. Former gate agents report that they make detailed announcements about boarding procedures, delay information, and gate changes. Yet passengers continue lining up to ask the same questions individually. This prevents agents from handling actually unique situations. Listen to announcements carefully and only approach the desk if you have a question not already addressed publicly. Former gate agents also mention passengers who become argumentative when asked to gate check bags because overhead space is full. When an airline needs to gate check bags, it is because there is genuinely no more overhead room, not because they want to inconvenience you specifically. Gate checking is free and your bag will be waiting when you deplane. Accept the situation gracefully and move on to the aircraft. This small flexibility helps keep operations running smoothly. Understanding what former airline staff wish passengers would stop doing comes down to one central theme. Most of the behaviors that create problems at airports stem from a lack of basic consideration for others and a failure to take personal responsibility for your own travel experience. The gate agents, security officers, and flight attendants you encounter are not obstacles standing between you and your destination. They are trained professionals working under difficult conditions to help hundreds of passengers reach their flights safely and on time. The aviation industry continues to face staffing challenges, increased passenger volumes, and operational pressures that make the jobs of airport employees more demanding than ever. Former airline staff who have moved on to other careers often cite passenger behavior as a major factor in their decision to leave the industry. Every time you board a flight, you have the opportunity to either contribute to the chaos or help make the system work better. The choice is entirely yours. Smart travelers recognize that preparation, patience, and courtesy go a long way toward ensuring their own smooth journey while making life easier for the hardworking people who keep our air travel system functioning. Before your next flight, take a few minutes to review airline policies, prepare for security, and commit to being the kind of passenger that airline staff appreciate rather than dread. Your fellow travelers and the exhausted gate agent trying to get everyone on board will silently thank you. Safe travels to wherever your journey takes you next.